You could be poisoning your liver without even knowing it. A common ingredient, hidden in foods you trust, may be silently draining your energy and inflaming your body. In this video, you'll discover exactly what it is and how to stop it before it does lasting harm. Have you ever felt that sluggish heaviness in your body after a meal? That lingering fatigue you just can't shake off, even after a full night's sleep? Or maybe you've noticed your waistline expanding despite eating what you believe is a balanced diet? These aren't just coincidences. They might be signs that something very common, something hiding in plain sight on your plate, is quietly overwhelming your liver. There's an ingredient so deeply woven into modern diets, particularly in North America, that it's almost impossible to avoid without conscious effort. It lurks in sodas, salad dressings, breakfast cereals, breads, energy bars, and even so-called health foods. It's marketed as convenient, harmless, even healthy. But research has shown that it could be doing the exact opposite inside your body. This isn't about blaming a single ingredient for all health problems, but it is about awareness. Because when it comes to your liver, ignorance isn't bliss, it's burden. Now here's where it gets real. Your liver is one of the most remarkable organs in your body. It filters toxins, processes nutrients, regulates blood sugar, supports hormone production, and even helps digest fat. But like any finely tuned system, when overloaded, it begins to falter, slowly, subtly, and silently. That's where this hidden ingredient comes in. The truth is, most people have no idea they're consuming it every single day. Not because they're careless, but because the food industry has normalized its presence. It's cheaper than sugar, extends shelf life, and satisfies the craving for sweetness in an almost addictive way. But behind that sweet taste, it sets off a cascade of internal stress, particularly in your liver, triggering inflammation, fat accumulation, and long-term imbalances that ripple through your entire body. And here's something most people don't know. Once your liver begins to struggle, your entire metabolic system is affected. This can lead to fatigue, weight gain, brain fog, poor digestion, and even skin problems. And yet, the root cause often goes undetected, masked by marketing labels, flashy packaging, and the assumption that if it's on the shelf, it must be safe. But let me be clear. This isn't about fear. It's about empowerment. Because when you understand how your liver works and what it needs to thrive, you can make small changes that lead to massive improvements in your energy, mental clarity, and overall well-being. The goal here is not to avoid everything or become obsessive. It's to become conscious, to choose with knowledge, to support your body instead of unknowingly sabotaging it. And just so you know, stay with me until the end of this journey because I've prepared a bonus tip that's not commonly shared, even in the world of natural health. It's a simple yet powerful habit that has been used in European naturopathy for decades to boost liver function and amplify detox results. You won't want to miss it. Now, before we move forward, let me ask you something. What if the key to unlocking better health, more energy, and a sharper mind was not in some exotic supplement, but in the removal of just one common ingredient? What if that one shift could set the stage for everything else you've been trying, from dieting to exercising, to finally work the way it's supposed to? Because here's the hard truth. Even the best intentions can be sabotaged when your liver is clogged and inflamed. Detox teas, fasting, even high-protein diets won't deliver the benefits you expect if your liver is constantly fighting to process something it wasn't designed to handle in excess. That's why it's critical that you don't just watch this content. You absorb it, reflect on it, and act on it. Because when it comes to your liver, a small mistake in understanding can lead to big consequences in the long run. But with the right information and a clear path, you'll be amazed at how quickly your body responds. This is just the beginning. In the next part, I'll show you how this ingredient made its way into nearly every kitchen in America, not by accident, but by design, and why that matters more than most people realize. That next step will open your eyes to something crucial, and if you skip it, the changes you try to make later might not stick. Because the next piece of this puzzle holds one of the most important truths, and ignoring it could not only limit your results, but also lead to unexpected side effects in your body. Let's keep going. Your liver will thank you for it. You'd think that something capable of damaging your liver would come with a warning label. But the reality is far more subtle, and that's exactly why this hidden ingredient continues to infiltrate homes, diets, and routines across North America without raising any alarms. The story of how it became so widespread isn't just a matter of poor nutrition. It's a tale of industry, economics, and how convenience quietly replaced common sense. It began decades ago when food manufacturers were looking for a cheaper alternative to sugar. The solution? A substance derived from corn, highly concentrated in sweetness and even more cost-effective to produce. The answer to market demands had arrived: high-fructose corn syrup, or HFCS. It wasn't just affordable, it was revolutionary. Sweet, shelf-stable, and easy to transport. The problem? It was too good at what it did. HFCS quickly became a staple in processed foods. From sodas and fruit drinks to ketchup, yogurt, canned soups, sandwich bread, and frozen meals, it found its way into everything. The average consumer didn't notice. After all, HFCS didn't taste strange, didn't smell odd, and didn't look suspicious. It was, and still is, virtually invisible. And therein lies the problem. When something is this common, we stop questioning it. We start assuming it's safe because it's everywhere. But science tells a different story. Unlike glucose, which is used by nearly every cell in your body for energy, fructose is metabolized almost exclusively in the liver. This means every can of soda, every energy bar, every syrup-drenched pancake stacks the burden higher and higher on one single organ. Over time, this burden adds up. The liver, trying to cope with the constant influx of fructose, begins converting the excess into fat. This fat accumulates in liver cells, contributing to a condition known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. And here's the twist. You don't need to drink a drop of alcohol to develop it. That's how deceptive this situation has become. In the 1970s, the consumption of HFCS was virtually zero. Fast forward to today, and it's estimated that Americans consume, on average, over 40 pounds of it per year. That's not just a dietary choice, it's a public health pattern. And it's not entirely your fault. Food advertising has glamorized convenience, and quick meals have become the norm in a fast-paced society where reading every label is an afterthought at best. But understanding how we got here is empowering, because the same systems that normalized this overconsumption can be reversed by awareness, education, and small shifts in daily habits. Imagine checking just one more label before buying that snack. Imagine swapping one drink a day for a cleaner, naturally sweetened alternative. These aren't massive lifestyle changes, but they can lead to a massive difference in how your body feels and functions. Even products marketed as healthy or low-fat can be loaded with HFCS. Yogurts with cartoon packaging, granola bars labeled as fitness fuel, salad dressings branded as natural, they often contain more fructose than a candy bar. And when consumed regularly, these products don't just hinder your progress. They quietly work against your liver's natural ability to cleanse and rebalance itself. It's time we bring common sense back to the kitchen. Food should nourish, not sabotage. And your liver, this unsung hero working day and night, deserves the support that comes from informed choices. That doesn't mean eliminating all sweetness or living in dietary fear. It means knowing the difference between a naturally occurring sugar in a piece of fruit and a lab-engineered sweetener added to a frozen meal. So, the next time you see an ingredient list, look closely. Don't just scan for calories or fat content. Look for the hidden forms of HFCS, glucose fructose, corn syrup solids, fruit fructose. All different names for the same problem. The ingredient may be buried in fine print, but the impact it can have on your body is anything but small. We didn't get here overnight, and real change doesn't require drastic decisions. It starts with awareness. Because once you see how this ingredient infiltrated your plate, you can begin to take it off, one choice at a time. And now that you understand how this became part of our daily lives, what's even more important is knowing what it does once it's inside you. That's where things really get interesting. And if you miss what comes next, all the awareness in the world may not protect you from its deeper effects. The next step will uncover one of the most overlooked but crucial impacts of this ingredient, and understanding it can make all the difference for your health. What makes this entire situation even more concerning is how silent it all is. You won't feel a sharp pain. There are no flashing lights or obvious warning signs. But the damage is happening, bit by bit, meal after meal, snack after snack. And it all starts with how your liver is forced to process this ingredient. Not gradually, but relentlessly. Fructose, the primary component of high-fructose corn syrup, follows a very different path in your body compared to other sugars. While glucose is absorbed by nearly every cell and used as energy, fructose has one main destination: your liver. That's not a flaw in nature. It's just how our biology works. The problem arises when your liver is exposed to large amounts of fructose consistently. It simply wasn't designed to handle that kind of load day in and day out. Every time you consume a food or drink containing high-fructose corn syrup, your liver has to work overtime. It quickly starts converting that excess fructose into fat, not because it wants to, but because it has no other option. Over time, fat starts building up inside your liver cells. This is known as hepatic steatosis, or more commonly, fatty liver. At first, you may feel nothing. That's what makes it so deceptive. But slowly, your energy starts to dip. You may notice you feel more tired after eating. You might crave sugar more often, and those cravings can become harder to control. That foggy-headed feeling that makes it difficult to concentrate or stay productive. That's often linked to what's happening deep inside your liver. Eventually, this buildup of fat triggers inflammation. Your liver tries to fight back, but like any organ under constant pressure, it starts to lose the battle. Inflammatory compounds begin circulating through your bloodstream. Your insulin response weakens. Blood sugar levels fluctuate. Your body holds on to fat more easily, especially around the midsection. And that morning bloat that just won't go away? It could be your liver sending signals. What's truly shocking is that this cycle can begin in children. Yes, even in kids, not just adults, because the average American child consumes more added sugars than ever before. Many pediatricians are now seeing early signs of fatty liver in teenagers. That's not a future problem. That's a right-now reality. And yet, the most troubling part is that this ingredient is still framed as harmless. Marketing phrases like low-fat, natural flavoring, or light often distract from the real danger. You might think you're making a smart choice by picking a reduced-fat yogurt, not realizing it's packed with high-fructose corn syrup to compensate for the lost taste. The effects don't stop at the liver. Once inflammation sets in, it begins affecting other organs. The gut can become more permeable, allowing toxins and undigested food particles to enter the bloodstream, a phenomenon sometimes referred to as leaky gut. This puts even more stress on your immune system and can lead to fatigue, allergies, or even skin flare-ups. Your hormones are also affected. Leptin, the hormone that tells you when you're full, becomes less effective. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, can surge. This imbalance doesn't just make you feel hungrier, it makes it harder to know when to stop eating. So, you eat more, feel worse, and wonder why your energy keeps dipping, despite your efforts. But here's the good news. None of this is irreversible. Your liver is one of the most resilient organs in your body. With the right support and simple dietary changes, it can regenerate, reduce inflammation, and return to balance. The first step is removing the trigger, that hidden source of metabolic stress. Swap out sugary sodas for water with lemon or herbal teas. Choose fresh fruit over packaged snacks. Start reading ingredient labels, not just for calories or fat, but to look for hidden sources of HFCS. These aren't drastic changes, but they are powerful, because your liver matters. It deserves your attention, your care, and your respect. Once you remove the hidden obstacles, your body begins to cooperate again. Energy returns, mental clarity improves, and the cravings that once felt impossible to control start to lose their grip. But we're not done yet. There's a crucial reason why this ingredient remains so hidden, so accepted, and so defended, despite all the evidence. And the answer lies in how the system was built. Understanding that next piece is vital, because skipping it could not only limit your results, but potentially lead to further confusion and frustration. What comes next is one of the most important insights, and ignoring it might mean missing the deeper forces working against your health. You might be wondering, with so much evidence pointing to the harm caused by high-fructose corn syrup, why isn't this a bigger conversation? Why aren't we seeing headlines, warning labels, or major public awareness campaigns? The truth is layered, and the deeper you go, the more you begin to understand how this ingredient was not just normalized, but strategically protected. It starts with industry influence. In the 1970s and 80s, as the demand for cheaper sweeteners grew, corn subsidies made HFCS incredibly affordable for food manufacturers. It wasn't just a good business decision, it was a golden opportunity. Big players in the food industry realized they could cut production costs while making their products even more addictive. And so began a wave of processed, sugar-laden products disguised as convenient, everyday foods. As public concern over fat grew in the 90s, the market shifted to low-fat alternatives. But removing fat meant removing flavor. The solution? Add more sweetness. HFCS fit perfectly into this new model. It could make low-fat yogurts taste creamy, enhance frozen meals, and keep baked goods moist, all while keeping prices down. To the consumer, it looked like progress. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. The more HFCS appeared in products, the less transparent labeling became. Terms like corn sugar, fructose glucose syrup, and even natural sweeteners started appearing in ingredient lists, making it harder for everyday people to recognize what they were consuming. Meanwhile, powerful lobbying groups were working to ensure that regulations stayed lenient. Campaigns were launched to downplay the risks, often citing studies funded by the very companies selling HFCS-rich products. Over time, this created a landscape where questioning this ingredient seemed unnecessary, or even paranoid. After all, it was everywhere. It had become part of the norm. Breakfast cereals, salad dressings, pasta sauces, crackers, and even health bars, they all began carrying a hidden load that few people noticed, but many bodies absorbed. But here's where it gets even more concerning. Scientific findings that challenged the safety of HFCS were often met with pushback. Researchers who raised red flags sometimes found their work discredited or buried under waves of contradictory claims. The result? Public confusion. And in that confusion, consumption continued. This isn't about blaming corporations. It's about recognizing patterns. When an ingredient becomes so widespread that questioning it feels radical, we should pause. We should ask, who benefits from this, and at what cost to public health? Awareness is not about fear. It's about seeing clearly. Because when you understand the forces that shaped your food environment, you can reclaim control over what goes into your body. Many people assume that if something is sold in stores, it must be safe. That's a reasonable belief. But safety isn't always measured in immediate reactions. It's measured in cumulative effects, in how your body responds over months and years of repeated exposure. And when that exposure is hidden behind clever branding, it's easy to fall into habits that undermine your health without realizing it. So what can you do? First, embrace transparency. Make it a point to learn about what's in your food, not from advertising slogans, but from ingredient labels. Look past the buzzwords and find out what those long names really mean. Second, don't rely on front-of-package claims like natural, wholesome, or light. Instead, look at the ingredients list. That's where the truth is. And third, share what you learn. Because the system that allowed HFCS to flourish isn't just built on economics, it's built on consumer trust. And when that trust is reclaimed through knowledge, change happens. None of this means you have to live in fear of food. Quite the opposite. It means you get to enjoy food with confidence, knowing that your choices are informed and intentional. That's real freedom, not restriction. Now, if you've followed along this far, you've already done something most people never will. You've looked behind the curtain. You've asked the hard questions. And because of that, you're ready to take real steps toward protecting your liver, your energy, and your long-term health. But there's one thing you still haven't seen: the exact name of the ingredient and how to spot it in all its disguises. This next insight is what ties everything together and gives you the power to make smarter decisions every day. Missing it won't just limit your results, it might unknowingly keep you stuck in habits that are silently harming your health. Now that the curtain has been pulled back on the systems that helped normalize this ingredient, it's time to look it straight in the eye. Because knowing how it works, where it hides, and what it does is only part of the equation. What truly empowers you is the ability to identify it quickly, clearly, and confidently every time you shop, cook, or make a choice about what to put on your plate. Let's be clear. The ingredient in question is high-fructose corn syrup, but it doesn't always go by that name. In fact, part of what makes it so difficult to avoid is the variety of disguises it uses. You might see it listed as corn syrup, glucose-fructose, fructose-glucose syrup, maize syrup, crystalline fructose, or even fruit fructose. Some products simply use fructose, which sounds harmless, even natural. That's intentional. And it's why label reading is no longer optional. It's essential. HFCS is not just sugar. It's a chemically processed sweetener derived from cornstarch, engineered to deliver high concentrations of fructose directly to the liver. Its production involves converting glucose into fructose using enzymes, which results in different versions like HFCS 55, commonly used in soft drinks, and HFCS 42, used in baked goods and processed foods. These numbers refer to the percentage of fructose content. And while they may sound technical, what matters is this: the liver must metabolize nearly all of it on its own. That is what creates the overload. That is what leads to fat buildup, inflammation, and the long-term metabolic shifts we've been discussing. And that is why spotting this ingredient, even when it's hiding, is a skill worth developing. When you pick up a product, don't be distracted by colorful labels, health claims, or marketing phrases like made with real fruit or no added sugar. Go straight to the ingredient list. That's where the truth lives. Look especially at the first 5 ingredients. If HFCS or any of its aliases appear early on, that means the product contains a significant amount. And even if it appears further down the list, regular consumption of multiple products with small amounts adds up quickly over the course of a day, a week, a month. Another important point: even organic products can contain versions of HFCS, especially if the certification only applies to a portion of the ingredients. That's why vigilance is key. Trust, but verify. So where does HFCS show up most commonly? Soft drinks are the biggest culprits, followed by packaged baked goods, flavored yogurts, condiments like ketchup and barbecue sauce, salad dressings, canned fruit, and frozen meals. It's even present in some breads, crackers, and peanut butters, items you wouldn't normally associate with sweetness, and that's precisely the danger. It's not the occasional treat that causes harm. It's the accumulation of small, frequent exposures. The breakfast bar, the lunchtime soda, the dinner sauce, the midnight snack. When HFCS is present in all of them, your liver never gets a break. And here's something worth remembering. Natural sweetness doesn't work the same way. When you eat a piece of fruit, you're also getting fiber, water, vitamins, and antioxidants, all of which slow the absorption of sugar and reduce the burden on your liver. That's why eating whole fruit is not only safe, it's beneficial. But consuming large amounts of isolated fructose, stripped of its natural context and delivered in a concentrated form, is a different story entirely. Your power lies in substitution. Every time you choose a product without HFCS, you give your liver room to recover. Every label you read sharpens your awareness. And every adjustment you make, no matter how small, adds up to meaningful change. It's not about fear. It's about informed action. When you start to recognize this ingredient, you also begin to see the bigger picture, that health isn't about perfection. It's about presence, about being aware of the forces shaping your food, and choosing to navigate them with intention rather than habit. Because once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And that's a good thing. Awareness is the first step toward healing. Now that you know what to look for, you're better equipped to protect your liver, your energy, and your long-term well-being. But there's still one essential step we haven't covered, and it's the one that makes all the difference. Because identifying and avoiding this ingredient is only part of the solution. To truly support your liver and accelerate its recovery, you need to know exactly how to nourish it the right way. Skip this, and you risk falling into the trap of restriction without restoration, which not only slows your progress, but could also trigger unwanted side effects. That's why this next step matters more than ever. Now that you know exactly what this ingredient is and how to recognize it in all its disguises, the next question is, what do you do about it? Avoiding high-fructose corn syrup is a critical step, but just removing it isn't enough. To truly restore balance, you need to give your liver the tools it needs to heal, regenerate, and thrive. Because here's the inspiring truth. Your liver is incredibly resilient. With the right care, it can recover more quickly than most people think. The first and most important step is to reintroduce foods that naturally support liver function. Leafy greens like arugula, spinach, and kale are rich in chlorophyll, which helps neutralize heavy metals and support detoxification. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, contain compounds like sulforaphane that boost your liver's natural enzyme activity. Beets are another powerful ally, thanks to their betaine content, which helps reduce fat accumulation in the liver. Then there's turmeric, a golden root with anti-inflammatory properties that's been used in natural medicine for centuries. When combined with a healthy fat like olive oil and a pinch of black pepper, curcumin, its active compound, becomes more bioavailable and can significantly reduce oxidative stress in liver cells. Lemons and limes may seem simple, but their vitamin C content and natural acidity stimulate the production of bile, which is essential for digesting fats and flushing toxins. Starting your day with warm water and fresh lemon juice is a small habit that can yield big benefits over time. Another powerful yet gentle liver supporter is milk thistle. Its active compound, silymarin, has been studied for its ability to protect liver cells from damage and even promote regeneration. While more common in supplement form, it's also available as a tea. And speaking of teas, dandelion root tea is a fantastic option for promoting bile flow and easing the workload on your liver. But let's not forget hydration. Water is your liver's best friend. Without enough of it, the detoxification process slows down and toxins can begin to recirculate. Aim to drink water throughout the day, not just when you feel thirsty. Adding cucumber slices, lemon, or mint can make it more enjoyable and even more effective. Equally important as what you include is what you avoid. Alcohol, deep-fried foods, and artificial additives place additional strain on the liver. But here's the key. It's not about deprivation. It's about prioritization. If 80% of your choices nourish your liver, the occasional indulgence won't undo your progress. It's consistency, not perfection, that brings healing. Now, as promised at the very beginning of this journey, I want to share a bonus tip. A gentle but effective practice used in European natural health clinics to support liver cleansing. It's simple. 1 teaspoon of raw, organic apple cider vinegar in a glass of warm water about 15 minutes before your main meal. This age-old habit can help stimulate digestive enzymes, balance stomach acidity, and reduce the load on your liver during digestion. It's not a cure-all, but when combined with a supportive lifestyle, it can make a meaningful difference. And finally, never underestimate the power of sleep and movement. Your liver performs the bulk of its regenerative work at night. A consistent sleep schedule, ideally 7 to 8 hours, is essential. Gentle exercise like walking, stretching, or yoga improves circulation and helps mobilize fat from the liver. When you begin to support your liver in this way, you may notice something amazing. Clearer skin, steadier energy, better digestion, and a lighter mood. That's your body responding. That's what happens when you stop overloading and start nourishing. This isn't about detox fads or temporary fixes. It's about creating a sustainable relationship with your health, one that empowers your body to function the way it was designed to. And remember, health is cumulative. Every small action you take, reading a label, drinking a glass of lemon water, choosing greens instead of fried snacks, adds up. Over time, those small decisions create lasting change. You now have the knowledge, the tools, and the path. The choice is yours. Will you let this insight fade into the background, or will you act on it and create a new baseline for your health? If this journey has opened your eyes or helped you in any way, share it. Let others benefit. Like it. Save it. Pass it forward. Because what we don't know can hurt us, but what we choose to understand has the power to heal not just our bodies, but our lives.